Hi there team, Coach Alexa here. Today's session is going to be about core strength for runners. If you watch the Olympics or the World Championships and you get that wonderful view of the camera following the runners down the 100 metre straight, so you get that perfect side-on view. And one thing you'll notice about those elite level professional runners is that their whole torso, from their pelvis all the way up to the top of their head, is straight and strong. It's acting like a foundation for their arms and legs to go like absolute billion when they're running. And what that means is you get a lot more of your energy and power going into powering you forwards. There's not as much sort of waving from side to side or twisting going on, which is losing energy, but also challenging your body in that you're moving in a non-ideal way for your running. So core strength can be really, really useful to improve your running and make sure the majority of the energy that you're putting into your run is going into going forwards as opposed to going sideways or twisting. So 6 exercises that we're going to go through today. The general rule of thumb with these ones is either 30 seconds of the exercise to start with and then gradually building it up from there if you can, or starting with 8 to 10 repetitions if it's a repetitive movement exercise, building up to 12 or 15 repetitions. Then we take a 30 seconds rest, then we do it again, another 30 seconds rest, and we do it again. So 3 sets of those exercises, 30 seconds and building it up, or 8 to 10 reps and building it up to 12 to 15 reps. So we're going to start with everyone's absolute favourite, the plank. The key with this one is watching on where your bum goes. You want yourself to be in a nice straight line when you're in plank. Head, shoulders, hips, down to the ankles. Really nice straight line. As soon as that bum starts creeping up or sinking down, or you get any pain in your lower back, then that's the time to stop the exercise and take a rest. Getting pain in your bum, pain in your abdominals, that's fine, that's just the muscles working hard. I also, and many other women unfortunately, because we've got less muscular shoulders, often find it quite challenging in the shoulders as well. So let's have a look at plank. What we want to be doing, I always like to just start off on the knees to get my arm position right. We want our elbows shoulder width apart, elbows directly under the shoulders. I quite like having my hands together here. Tuck your toes under and lift yourself up into plank. So in that straight line, heels, pelvis, shoulders up to the top of our head. If you find that really difficult already, then you can drop down to the knees and build up the percentage of time you're spending on your knees versus on your toes in this plank pose. So see if you can get to 30 seconds as a starting point, gradually building from there, giving yourself that 30 seconds rest and going again. Next, sort of level on from that one, is another version of plank, but where we get more into the muscles that go down the side of the torso. So here, again, I'd recommend starting off in the knees just to get on the hang of the exercise. So the knees are bent, again, elbow is under the shoulder. We want to lift our hips up to the side. If you fancy, you can pop that top arm up as well. We want to aim for 30 seconds here. I find this one a little bit easier than the front plank, but everybody's different. So if you do want to make this more of a challenge, we can drop our hips back down, send our legs out straight, lift back up. And if you're feeling that too easy, then you can rotate the shoulders and the hips round as you bring the arm down in that gap under your tummy. And that's really getting in to the muscles all up the side of the side that's closest to the floor. So important to do it on both sides. We don't want to end up asymmetrical. And make sure that you've got enough of a challenge. You're really pushing yourself in that exercise. But if you do get to the point where your muscles are really wobbling, or you can't maintain that nice straight line form in either versions of those plank, then come out of it, rest, and try again. The aim with a lot of these exercises, or all of these exercises in fact, is to focus on good form, doing it really well, to really reinforce that strength in the torso. Okay? So the next the next 2 we're going to do involve just lying on our tummies on the floor, which is always nice. Actually, before I go into it, I'm just going to explain a little bit why. So a lot of people think when I talk about core training, they think about abdominals and six-pack. They might think about the obliques, the sort of side abdominals here, but actually the whole of the core really encompasses the torso. So it's like a big sort of tin can of muscle, a big sort of cylinder of muscle that goes around us. Obviously we need to work it harder here because we haven't got any bony structure. This is a gap here where we don't really have a lot of bony structure other than a part of our spine. So we really need to work on the muscles on this bit, but it's also about the whole of the body and the back. So these two muscles are particularly good as well, these two exercises are particularly good as well if you spend a lot of time sat down, shoulders rounded like that. They're strengthening the back and they're getting us to bend slightly back the other way. Okay? So, lying on our tummies, we want our hands on the floor level with our shoulders like this, so our elbows are up in the air. And the first part of this exercise, we can just engage these glutes, squeeze the bum cheeks a little bit, facing down to the floor and just lifting the shoulders and the hands off the ground, squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you and dropping that down to the floor. So lifting up, holding for a second or two and dropping that down to the floor. Every time we move, the glute muscles, so the muscles in the bum are really squeezed. So we're squeezing the bum and squeezing the shoulder blades together. Nice exercise to gradually strengthen all the muscles down your back. The next one we can do, bringing the hands up here, and you can rest your forehead on your hands as a little pillow if you want to. This is all about engaging the glutes. So to set a good baseline for this exercise, engaging the abdominals at the front of the tummy by pulling your tummy button back up towards your spine, and then switching on that bum and just fluttering the legs. So using the muscles in the glutes, really consciously switching those bum muscles on, as if you were doing the front crawl legs in the swimming pool, just fluttering the legs up and down. So with this exercise, you can either do the chest lift or the leg flutter, go through 3 sets of the chest lift with your rests, and then move on to the leg flutter, or you can do one then the other and then rest, one then the other and then rest. Really nice way of getting the whole what's called posterior chain down the back of the body working really nicely for you. The final 2 exercises involve having a bit of a lie down on our back. Lots of lying down with core exercises, which is always good. So we're going to do a little version of a crunch here. So you might have heard about that, fingers to temples, and a standard crunch would just involve curling your head and shoulders as far as you can off the floor and dropping that down again. The version I'm going to do has got a slight twist to it, metaphorically as well as actually. So we're going to go up and then we're going to take the right shoulder towards our left leg and drop that down. Up, left shoulder towards right leg. You want your fingers at your temples, not locked behind your head, because that yanks on your neck and also takes away some of the challenge of the exercise, and you want your elbows out really wide, not up by your face. So up and across, back to the centre and down. Up and across, back to the centre and down. So it's working your main abdominal muscles as well as activating the ones around the side with that bit of a twist. So 30 seconds or 8 to 10 on each side to start with again in those 3 blocks with the rest. Final exercise is taking a little bit of a leaf out of the Pilates book. So shoulders nice and relaxed on the floor, palms facing up to the ceiling. You want your feet hip width apart. And what we're going to do here is lift one leg at a time up into this, what's called tabletop position. So the thighs are pointing up to the ceiling, the shins are parallel to the ceiling. You want to make sure as you lift these legs up that belly button is really strongly pulling back down to the floor, so those abdominals are engaged. Because if you don't, when you lift those legs up, you'll find that this low back arches off the floor, so you should have your back flat on the floor throughout this one. And gradually and slowly, just tapping alternate feet to the floor, keeping those 90-degree bends in your knees. And the challenge here, just popping both feet down again, is not the leg movement, it's keeping those abdominals engaged and keeping that lower back as close to the floor as possible whilst you're doing the exercise. So if that back starts to arch, and you start to get to a point where you could fit your hands under your back, then you need to stop, reset, really engage those abdominals, pull the belly button down towards the floor and give it another go. Okay, so 6 exercises to do there to help improve core strength for runners. Remember to think about 3 sets with a 30 seconds rest in between, and we're either challenging yourself on time, 30 seconds and up, or number of repetitions, start around 8 to 10, build up to 12 to 15. Enjoy!